Alrighty, so let's get this popping. So sorry guys. So when I got back from Texas, I didn't spend no time setting up my computer to do the stream today. So I do apologize in advance. Thanks everyone for your patience. It only took me 24 minutes. But we're good. Um, EJ again couldn't make it today. This is the Reflex Buzz, the October 23 edition. With us today on your left is Paul Paris, our team manager, and right smack in the middle is Christian Tabush, Mr. Reflex himself. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining the stream, and I do apologize again for the audio issues. But everyone got a chance to see our pretty faces for 20 minutes, and moving our lips and not hearing anything. So what we were talking about before was Worlds in 2 weeks. Talk about it. What do we have? We have new RCP. I heard.
That's what Paul's saying, right?
That's what Kemper told me. We'll see if it holds true. I know the guys were saying that the grip was really low today. The track was real dirty, and they could probably fix that by cleaning it. But hopefully, we get some new surface, right?
Yeah, and that'll change once we're all running on it, right? Like it did at the warm up. It won't be super high bite, but if they do get new track, it's going to be really grippy, right? Like it's going to be much grippier. That track will groove up and it'll have traction in no time. Um, so either way, it's going to have its challenges, right? Especially if, if they're going to put new RCP and they're going to keep this layout out how they're supposed to for the next 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you pull up the RCP and you put another RCP track down, that'll be interesting. you know, anybody that shows up early, like, what experience you're going to be able to draw upon. I think it's an advantage and is a disadvantage at the same time. Like it's a disadvantage for the locals that they're doing that this late. It evens out the playing field, I guess. If you go with new RCP, I think that would be the best course of action, right? The tiles would be more even, track would be smoother, grip would be higher. I think the racing would be better overall. But we'll see. I mean, the new rails helped out a lot over there. So we can either have a medium, high-ish grip for the worlds, or we can have high grip. I mean, that's going to change a lot.
Was that new rails or just the way that that Grant prepped them? I think they were the.
It was new rails.
It was new rails. Okay.
We were running new rails. Yeah, it was all new rails. Okay. Grant replaced them and he glued them onto the tiles. Like he took his time. He did a good job fixing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been great. One of the issues we had a mile high, some of the cars were getting wedged underneath the rails.
Yeah.
A year ago, we didn't have that issue in Denver. So,
well, hold that thought. We're going to talk about 5280 in just a second. So,
yeah,
just hold that thought real quick. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I mean, no, just preparation right now. I'm gluing tires while I'm talking to you guys here because I don't ever have time to do it. But yeah, it's pretty much, we're down to the last 10 days of prep, right? I mean, pretty much everybody should have their package ready. We're getting close to being ready. I've got my cars built. I got my bodies painted. I'm just waiting for the day to jump in the car and drive out to San Antonio. Pretty much, I'm gonna try to get on the track a couple of days at my track, just to shake the rust off a little bit. I haven't driven since the warm up, but probably starting tomorrow, I'll probably hit the track about 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. Just go run some laps and shake some stuff off. I haven't wanted to change much either. That's another reason why I haven't been on the track. My cars were so good that, of course, all bets are off if they're changing with new RCP. But if not, like, I know my cars I would just have to, put fresh tires on and let the track come to it because it would be good. So I still got to rebuild my GT diff. Got to freshen up the fluids, but I got a brand new pan car that I've put together. It's ready to go. I haven't gotten to run it yet, but I will tomorrow. I'm gluing a bunch of tires, and that's about it. How about you guys?
Oh, I got a bunch of tires to mount. I mounted them. I got to glue them, and that takes a while.
Yeah, I mounted mine a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I have one catfish body I want to paint up, get that ready, see how that works.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just got to do that, right? It's a lot of work. I don't like doing tires.
Yeah, but it was so awesome at the warm up. I had all my tires pre-mounted and pre-glued, and all I had to do was true them trackside. That was nice. That was super nice. Like it's the same. I'm prepping like that from now on, forever and ever. I mean, not having to worry about gluing or. Yeah, this was kick tail. It's the much better way of doing it.
So talk about your tire wear, right? You went through one set of rears, maybe?
I want to say maybe 2 for the whole weekend. But for racing, probably just 1 because I just allowed them to get smaller. And as the grip came up, the tires got smaller and the car kept getting better. So I didn't really mess with the rears. I didn't really mess much with the fronts either. I think once I figured out the diameter that I wanted, I mean, I did spend like the first 2 rounds of qualifying trying to figure out diameters for my fronts. Once I figured those out, I mean, I really didn't touch my fronts either. So at first it was figuring out the diameter. I think the whole team we all had a little bit different tire game, a little bit different tire strategy in the front and tire diameter, but I think everybody kind of figured out their own way. EJ and I were probably pretty close, but I know Kemper and Fong, they didn't like the narrow tires yet, or I don't know if they're even doing them yet.
You mean the wide tires?
You mean the wide tires, yeah. Which are available, right, for sale, right? Because that was the
wide wheel?
That they weren't going to be available for Worlds.
Well, they were available before. They just sold out, right? Like we had 200 sets already out, and we made those available before Denver. We just sold them, right? People bought 10 at a time. I mean, people buying 6 pair, 8 pair.
Are they
a few people
right now?
ordered them a lot. But yeah, we got the full production. We released them this week. We announced it on Facebook. You ordered some.
Yep.
So we have the new wheels. I mean, we have plenty of them. We have a full production in-house. There's no availability. Of course, I mean, I don't know if we could show up that weekend and have them available. I mean, PN is still approving bodies up until like last week. So
do they have to
obviously there's no.
I didn't know there was an approval process for wheels.
Well, they just have to be production.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are production, right? Like they can't be. So production doesn't say, hey, you got to have 1,000 of them. It doesn't say readily available. It just says production. It doesn't, like, I mean, if there's a production wheel from 1999 that was made but it's no longer available, technically you can run it. I mean, there's no rule against that. So by having released our wheels, even if I had just sold 20 sets, they were production and they're molded, and so they fit everything, every parameter. But however, we produced 1,000 pair of each color, and now they're available. I mean, anybody can get them, and the store can order them if they want them. If they don't, well, and they won't. But our team will be outfitted with them. I don't know who all, but there's been certain things that we've been testing that we've been recommending to the team guys to use, and some of them are using them and some aren't, right? Like the wide tires being one of those things. Like Evans finally got the right size diameter on them, and now he likes them.
Yeah, he talked to me today. He likes them.
Yeah, they're better. I mean, they're easier to drive. Kemper hasn't liked them, but he hasn't used them a whole lot, right? He's the kind of guy that doesn't like to use anything, because if, God forbid, he's got to change a screw to make it right? Like, so if it doesn't just work, then he's not going to like it. I mean, to each his own. I don't need him to be more consistent, because then he'll kick our ass.
He's peaking at the right time for sure.
He is. He finally got his win, right? He got that monkey off his back. It's been a while.
He hasn't broke a servo in a while, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, wider bumpers are obviously helping. Wider bodies and wider bumpers. But yeah, I mean, he was due for a win. I mean, much deserved, right? There's a guy that puts in the work at the track, and I don't know if it's working on his car, but at least at the track, it's him. And he's always had the speed. He just, couldn't quite ever put it together. And Man, he did really well in Denver, didn't he?
Yeah, the whole team did.
Yeah.
Any one of our guys could have won those mod races.
Golly, how about EJC, man? Like that guy's on fire, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh, smokes. That guy's becoming a monster, man. Like he's not here for us to talk him up on the camera, but golly, man, I'm impressed. He's performing.
I'll him for sure.
He's in chat.
That guy,
he's listening in. So.
He's put in his work, man. I'm very proud of him. Yeah. To his credit, he's the one that listens the most.
Hey, listen, I listen. I just don't read. I text Cristian. I was like, Cristian, you gave me the carbon fiber part. He goes, did you read the manual? I said, absolutely not.
Yeah, and the screws finally came in. I have some new low profile screws, and I'll be sending those out to distributors. And if anybody got a set, they're not necessary. You can space that up. You can shave the screw. You can do whatever you want. But we'll give you a free screw. I'm just not going to go through every order and look at them because there is some shims that you can shim that part up. And anybody that wants one, and I'll put it out here, it's like, we'll get you a free 5-pack of those flathead screws and you'll be good. You'll be covered. So all I got to do is request them whenever they place an order and we'll send them out. It's just, it's not entirely, when you space it up, you're at the same geometry as the original car. Let's put it that way. Okay. I'm not saying that it's necessary or it isn't. It's just, I don't think it's going to be a critical part where if you don't have it, you're going to be losing tenths of a second. I mean, it's just an adjustment, right? Right. It makes the suspension. What's that?
What screw are you guys talking about?
On the standard car, the screw underneath the rear carbon fiber center shock mount, the one that you go through the bottom and it attaches the post. The last production,
I got you.
The last production of screws that we got were a little bit out of spec. They're like 0.2 millimeters too tall, so some of them drag on the carbon fiber lower piece because we dropped that assembly 1 millimeter. So there's a couple of extra 1 mil shims in the kit. You can space that piece up and there's no issue with it. And we added that to the instructions. Now, starting on the next, batch number 2 of the Gen 2, which we're practically sold out of batch number 1. I mean, we have, golly, a handful of standard cars, maybe 2K cars, and a handful of SEs left, and that's it. Everything else is gone. The 400 cars are just, I mean, it's been 2 months and all gone. The next batch is going to be a while. I mean, we are looking at probably at least 40 days, 45 days. So we still have some SEs that people can order, right? Like we'll probably run out by the end of this week. So we'll be without cars that for about 30 to 40 days.
So with that being said, though, what promo, what incentive are you? You know what they say, right? You win on Sunday, you sell on Monday. So so if Reflex podiums pretty much every lipo class, how are you going to prepare for the massive inquiries on the cars?
Well, we have a new production coming, right? Okay. We have a completely new production, and in that production, we have a new production coming. Like, I mean, we timed it. Like, I wish I could have timed it a little bit better, to where my goal was, hey, worlds are done. We have a car out 2 weeks later with, again, like people are gonna be like, oh, changes. No, there's some revisions on this second batch, and the only reason why we have revisions, again, they're minor, is because we have cut off from the atomic parts. Reason being is because I wanted a certain spec that we weren't getting from them, and we have the new car is gonna, all new cars. There's no price change. It's just a running change. Are gonna have the new shock. They're gonna have new damper tubes, like our new Reflex damper tubes. The SE is going, well, they're all going to come with with the adjustable upper arm, but they're going to be plastic. But the SE will have the turnbuckles and ball cups for it. The standard car, I'm still debating. It'll still probably still just come with the regular arms, um, just to keep costs down, right? We're trying to make that car, trying to bring the cost down. We're not going to raise the price, and we're adding items that are more expensive. Our damper tubes are going to be more expensive. Our center shock is going to be more expensive. I mean, those two things are coming up in price. So if I keep adding new things, like we're going to have to go back up. And the goal is to maybe, I'm not going to say Gen 3, but next year's car, right? Whatever it is that we release for the fall of next year, maybe is going to be, what I was thinking is like, hey, the SE will keep being the SE. The standard car will be the standard car, but maybe the K car will become a $280 car, right? Like, right. Can I achieve that? Like, that's a kind of like something that I've been wanting to do in my mind. And maybe I can get there with some more molded parts, maybe a molded front end. So maybe I don't do that. I don't know, but those are kind of like my wants. You know, there's certain things that have gotten more expensive, and obviously the center shock is 10 times more expensive than what we're paying for a center shock right now. You know, those center shocks are expensive to make, but we're going to throw it in the car. I mean, we're going to be like, hey, this is going to be,
and
we're going to keep the same price.
Atomic one, right? We currently,
yeah. Okay. The damper tubes now, we have a new, obviously, mold for the sleeve side, but the piston side is going to be machined hard-coated aluminum, right? It's going to be super smooth and hard anodized, lightweight. They're a little bit bigger in diameter, so they'll be a little bit better damping. But those are going to be more expensive, right? It's a processed piece of more expensive alloy, and it's got an expensive surface treatment on it. So those things are, as we lower cost on other things, we're raising cost on like the more critical items, to improve obviously the quality and the experience of the end user. So,
but that's if you buy it as an individual piece, though, right? You're not going to increase the cost of the kit, obviously, even though the
no, that's what I'm saying. Is like those pieces are coming up in price for our cost, but we're not changing the price of the car. Like, we're eating that price difference. Yeah. Right. We're going to keep the price of the cars.
If I was to buy a secondary shock or a backup shock, the new one obviously will cost a little bit more because the cost.
Yeah, the new one's going to be like $35 retail.
As an independent part, just as an individual part.
Yeah, it's an expensive part to make. I mean, it's a nice. Got the production ones here. Like, I'll probably have them to the website this week. It's a hard anodized shock body, right, with the titanium nitride coated shaft. It's got aluminum caps, threaded shock body. It'll come with all 3 springs. That'll be the aftermarket, the option part, right?
Right.
The car will still only come with one spring, but it'll come with the new shock, right? So the other thing we're changing is, like we said in the last podcast, we're changing our turnbuckles. We're going to 2 millimeter threads everywhere on the car. There'll no longer be 1.6 millimeter turnbuckles or ball cups. Like, all our ball cups will be oversized for 2 mil. And this car already has the new turnbuckles on it, right? They're beefier. Yep. These are steel. We'll probably end up making like a aluminum option. Now that they're beefier, we can make them aluminum to make them lightweight again. And maybe anodize them different colors to add some flair to the car. But again, the main thing about it is we're making quality improvements without increasing the price, right? And some of these quality improvements are costing us more money. For the most part, they're all costing us more money, but we're going to be able to offer a much more premium product. When you guys see this stuff in person, you're going to be like, whoa. Like the new diff, I'm saying your diff finally left out today. In that price pack that I sent you also, I think, 1 or 2 diffs to give out at this event.
So it's not here today though.
I'll trace it, but it left it left express on Thursday. So the latest it should have showed up is today.
Today? Okay.
Yeah,
appreciate it. If not, I'll do IOUs. I'll put all the parts on a piece of paper and then raffle that. And just so all the locals yeah, just
Yeah,
shout
we
out
can
to
trace it
Aberdeen.
really well.
Tomorrow we have the Halloween stock shootout, just stock classes, um, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of box stockers. I was sharing with Paul that we have two new Reflex drivers at Aberdeen, and that's a big
Nice.
surprise. Yeah, a gentleman by the name of John Henriquez. Shout out to him, and Philippe Vincent. I think you guys know him.
Yeah,
he has an SC, and it looked good out
nice.
there. It looked good out there. I mean, he was hiatus for like 2 years,
Yeah, he's a
and
good driver.
yeah,
He's a
and
pretty good mini driver.
he's loving
He's
his
been around
SC.
for a long time, man.
Yeah,
Philip, I've known him for 15 years.
yeah, man, he's a great dude. Great dude,
Hmm.
very nice. One of the nicest people I've ever met in
Yeah,
this
he's a good dude. He's a
community.
doctor, I think.
He's a doctor. Yep,
Yeah, I
yep,
think
yep,
he's a
yep.
doctor. He's a good dude.
Yep. So shout
Um,
out to Philippe and shout out to John. Thanks
yeah,
for
and then we also
joining the
have John
community.
Themelis. John
Oh
Themelis
yeah, of
coming
course,
back.
Johnny. Yeah,
All
we
right,
kind of knew Johnny
Johnny,
was coming back.
Johnny T.
Yep.
He texted me today that he went to Richie's and he's like, man, it's like I never left. I'm hooked.
Yeah, he
I
said
had so much fun that I bought an SE on my way out. I was like,
so.
all right, dude.
So Richie hasn't shared anything with me, but you know, not this season, but last season, I used to race up at Donnie's 360,
Mhm.
and a lot
Yeah,
of those guys I heard. Okay, let's say a lot. About six of those guys up there, um, five of them
I'm
have
paying attention.
reflex, and they're paying attention, and
Oh, nice.
they have reflexes. So they don't want to share it with me, but you know, I was told. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
John Themelis goes back a long time with Reflex. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing it the first time around, he was our team driver up there
Yep.
where you're at, and he won a lot. And
Yeah, I
regionally.
remember
Like
seeing him at
he was,
Badges. I seen him at Badges a
dude,
lot.
he's
Yeah.
fast, man. Like this dude can drive. Like he's old school 12 skill racer, and when he races 12 skill at Donnie's, he's mixing it up with the best of them. Like
Yep.
he is fast. Like he knows his stuff. So we go back a long time. He was a long time supporter of
So
Reflex whenever
so not to
when I
show
was young. And
favoritism or bias, let me just now that we're giving shout outs, I'll get this over with right now. Shout out to Corby. He actually DM'd me directly saying how great of a job we're doing with these podcasts.
oh,
He
cool,
says they're
man.
extremely
Yeah, Sam's a
informative,
good dude.
and he loves the fact that you know Reflex is actually doing these monthly podcasts. So shout out to him.
I,
He's
I
from the
saw I
UK.
saw in the chat that he was saying it's like 1:30 in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah,
So hi,
he's from the
Sam.
UK. So shout
We
out to
talk a
him.
lot. Oh, we were
Fernando.
messaging earlier. Sorry, I've been busy. I have family in town, so it's like I've been away from my phone most of the day. And
And
catching up with orders, man, has been after being a week off.
I can imagine.
I'm kind of caught up right now. I got a couple of dealer orders, and Hobbytown Denver just placed an order today. That's gonna. But I am not drowning anymore. I'm at least coming up for air, and I still haven't added some of the new stuff that we have, and I'll show you guys later on or in a little bit what some other things that we have to add to the website. The exciting stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that real quick, and then final shout out to Fernando from Brazil, and I think we had someone from Argentina. So shout out to you guys. I know the time zone differences or the I know you guys are way out in the south in the opposite hemisphere. So, but thank you very much for joining the podcast as well. Um,
Yeah, Sam is definitely the late night guy.
yep, yep. 5280. Let's not stray away from that. There was an issue, and I'm not going to point fingers or put anyone in the hot seat or put anyone on blast. There was a situation, Christian. I want to get your opinion on this because you sponsor right a lot of events, big ones, small ones. I mean, you're sponsoring. Thank you very much. The Halloween race tomorrow at Aberdeen in New Jersey. And there was a situation because I was put in this situation at Race of Champions, but a
But
situation.
that's from what happened in
Yeah, yeah.
Colorado.
But again, I'm not going into details. But the reason for this is, right, as a an event promoter, right, organizer, race director, or program director, right. The only advice that I would give as a driver is never put that other party in that position to make a judgment, especially if they're your friend, right? Because sponsors are going to pull. Sponsors do not sponsor events where if someone is doing something that they're not supposed to do and they don't get DQ'd, the sponsors are going to pull. What's your take on that?
my sponsorship is never contingent on whether or not somebody does well or they get DQ'd or not. Like,
But it wasn't that they got DQ'd, right? It was that
it's kind of like I told Mo the other day. Like, Mo always likes doing the whole pro versus Joe thing. And I was like, hey man, like, listen, like, I mean this with all respect. Like, that dialogue is kind of like divisive, right? Like, at the end of the day, we all love racing toy cars. Whether we, some of us make money, and yeah, I make money off of it, but I work very hard at it, and I also try to deliver something that people enjoy. Like, I'm not gonna say it's a thankless job because it isn't. Like, it's a fun job, and it's a dream job. But at the end of the day, like, we all do this because we love it, right? So I don't think that there's any malice when most of the guys in our team are high character guys, right? That if they do something wrong, I would expect them to learn from it and move on. Like, I mean, that's how it should always be. Like, if you got DQ'd, like, why was it? Did you do it intentionally? If you did it intentionally, that's messed up. But I have my sponsorship is not contingent on preferential treatment.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. He didn't get DQ'd, right? So my question to you is: there was someone who whatever deliberately or maybe he didn't know did something that put Corey in a position to have a judgment call, and it was foul play, but the call wasn't made. That's
what I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I never heard anything about that.
It was a breach of the rule. It was a breach of the rule.
Paul knows.
So what happened?
Someone had
transparent about it. It doesn't matter.
Someone had a different opinion that wasn't allowed in the stock class.
Okay.
This is my first time.
Different brand or different size?
Different size.
Well, they needed to be DQ'd.
But he wasn't.
And then that's on the race organization.
Yeah, it was there was a blind eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's and just to let you know, from my experience, that's when sponsors pull out, right? Because hey, if you're gonna have drivers that are not gonna follow the rules, I can't.
What do you mean sponsors pull out?
So when there's a situation where there's foul play, and
but what do you mean by sponsors pull out? Like they stop supporting the event?
Yes, they stop supporting the event.
I don't think it's a big deal. Like, I think people that do that, like, they're blowing it out of proportion. Like, judgment calls are judgment calls. Like, whatever the reason, what it was done for, it was like, I wasn't even made privy to this information. Like, if somebody would have told me that, I would have been like, hey, he's out. Like, right? Like, there's not even any protest about it. That's, I don't know why it wasn't made, and it's not certainly because of any influence that our sponsorship, if it was one of our drivers, because I don't even know who you're talking about.
Yeah. It wasn't one of our drivers.
No.
Okay, well,
yeah. It wasn't one of our independent driver. This guy might be independent.
But again, judgment call or not, I don't think that takes away. We all make mistakes, right? And I don't think it takes away from a great event when something like that happens. Like, those should be learning experiences. Like, if it happens consistently, like, then it's an issue. But if it's one time, like, golly, like, is it really making a difference? Is this guy winning? Like, or if he's just like a back marker, does it really merit that? I mean, that's what you got to kind of look at it as a race promoter, right?
Yeah.
Now, it depends on how serious of a race it is. For the most part,
I mean,
I think you guys up there in the Northeast,
it's the second largest race in the nation. It's a very high profile event.
You see, but this is the thing: is like, you guys in the Northeast still take this racing so over the top seriously. Like, right? Like,
we do.
At the end of the day, it's the same guys that travel around the country, and yeah, it's a big race. But listen, are we going to let this cloud our relationships, our momentum, our community because of a silly mistake, right? Like, if we keep dwelling on little things like this, then it becomes a crapshoot. Like, move on, right? Like, forget about it. Is it really even something that needs to be discussed? Like, that was the decision they made. Okay, whether you agree with it or not, that's unfortunate, right? But it's like politics, right? Like we can't ever have conversations about it anymore because everybody just wants to fight. But whatever happened to dialogue, right? It's the same thing. Like just move on. Like whatever, it happened. It didn't take away from the fact that it's one of the most prestigious races. They have a great event. You get a lot of track time. Doesn't take away from that great group of guys that races there. It doesn't take away from 5280 and from Corey Bosworth and his crowd, his crew over there. I think there was much more good done than bad. And if that's the one thing that people are going to dwell on and be like, oh man, it's like,
But we
like
have to
the
be
Rocky
careful.
Mountain Scalers Association. And this is no slight on you guys up in the Northeast, but it is a slight on you guys in the Northeast. Like you guys worry about so much about what specific damn pinion is on your car and how you're going to interpret the rules and how you're going to enforce them, that you lose sight that at the end of the day, we're all just wanting to race our little cars, right? Which is what's important, which is why I like that RMSA, the Rocky Mountain Scale Association, is because they're doing something. Is the rule set perfect? No, but it's the best one I've seen, right? Does it mean that I have to race like that every weekend? No, but it's a great rule set to go to an event 3 times a year, right? So organization is a thankless job, right? I've been on that side of it too. And what I do see with them is they have a dedicated, organized group of professional individuals, like not pros as in RC pros, but like professional business owners that have the best interest of the hobby at hand. And they want to provide a rule set that, while is not perfect, has worked for them and can work on a national level, right? Like
Correct.
whether or not 2500 is boosted or blinky, or there's a Lexan body in 3500 or not, or if the RTA body's allowed or not, it doesn't matter. We're all under the same rule set, and it's a good guideline. Like PN has a good foundation that we all kind of go off of, but everybody is allowed to race however they want on a weekly basis. If Aberdeen works this way, if Ritchie's works another way, San Antonio works another way, so be it, right? What this is more about is like the big picture is like, can we have, like Roar, for example. Roar has a pretty strict rule set, right? Quote unquote. Most people run rules based on that, but at a club race, most clubs are not checking your battery voltage and your car weight and are you running the right tire. Like, I mean, it's just kind of like on an honor system. And the more obsessed you become about people doing like, I mean, of course you don't want like blatant cheating, right? Like that's wrong. And let's start by saying, like, if you had the wrong opinion, those runs should have been DQ'd. And if it wasn't anymore that something could have been fixed, like let's say we're out of qualifying, maybe the mains are done, well, you know what, it doesn't mean that you couldn't race, but you're going to forfeit your result and you're going to end up 10th in that main, whatever, right? Because you technically, you're only caught for that one run that you're running, right? Because you don't have any proof that they were doing it the whole weekend, right? So it's just that one run that's not going to count. All the other runs you got to let stand too. So when you look at that, like, how does that give you your outcome, right?
Right.
If they didn't catch it earlier, shame on the organization as well, right? Like they should have been teching that, right? Did it change from what they usually run? Like there's so many things. Like a lot of people don't read the rules, like especially like if it's in the slower classes and it's somebody that maybe just a club racer, and maybe club racing they allow a 13 tooth, and at this event they only had a 12 tooth. I don't know what the rules were. And maybe he just didn't get the memo, right? And he didn't read the rules. Like ignorance of the law does not absolve you from guilt, right? But at the same time, you should also have a group of people inspecting and saying, hey, this is go, no go, right? Like we had some issues in San Antonio with some parts that perhaps shouldn't have been legal, but they let them go through. So what can you do, right? Do you really want to make a big deal out of it? Or you just want to just, you know what? Whatever, man. Like at the end of the day, toy cars for bowling trophies. If we really, you don't want it to devolve into chaos, but you also don't want to, I mean, we don't need to be fighting over this stuff, right? Like that's the last thing we want. Like RC is a dying hobby in general, and we have kind of like a good niche right now. And we have a good thing going, and we have good people in the positions of quote unquote leadership that I think have general legitimate best interest of the hobby and the scale. Even if everybody's got a different interpretation of how to do it, like we all have the enthusiasm of promoting it, how we practice it shouldn't have an impact. Like the fact of the matter is that we all practice it, right? What works for you locally is what's going to work for you locally. I just don't think that we need to obsess necessarily on the rules and become too worried about the end, about little nitpicking little things when like the big picture is, hey, the overall health of the scale is good. Let's not ruin it.
Yeah. And again, just my final thought is, as a driver, right? Just if you know, right, if you're conscious and you're working on your car, you should know what your car has. Um, take onus, take accountability. Um, that's
True.
my only advice. My only advice is don't put, especially if that person is your friend, don't put the race director or the person who's gonna make the call. Don't put them in that position. Just move on.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like if you screwed up, man, just take your licking, right?
Yeah,
Like just
exactly.
move on. Say,
Exactly.
hey, I screwed up.
Yeah,
DQ me this run. I'm gonna fix it. That's
exactly.
what you should do,
That's
right?
yep. You got it. Alrighty.
Yeah, let me add something to that, right? I was at the race, and the teching of the spec classes was pretty lenient. They didn't really do voltages, and every now and then they take your rear direct diameter, your tire. The motors and pinions were marked with fingernail polish. And this individual, I think he was a contender. That I don't know, but that's something they got to deal with.
Yeah,
And it
No
was
one
the
is.
stock class,
we'll improve
the
it. I just
2500 class.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 2500. Again, guys, just as a driver, don't put your friend in that position, especially if they're the organizers. And organizers, just make sure, just if you have rules, follow the rules, make the call, give the guy a hug, take him out for a beer. But at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is jeopardize your relationships with brands that support this scale.
Yeah, and
These
that's
toy
the thing.
cars.
Like I think that's the key, Sam. Like
Yep.
we got to learn from this stuff, right? Like even when you don't think it's a big deal, right? Maybe somebody else does, right? And in the interest of fairness, I think, yeah, if it's written in the rules, they should be enforced as such, right? Is that going to take me away from sponsoring an event? Absolutely not. The reason why I support those guys is because I believe in that organization that they have, and I know that it's just starting small, but I know some of the plans that they have for next year. I like what I see. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's one of those build it and they will come kind of scenarios. I think we're long overdue for not for a replacement for the PN Cup, but for an alternative, right? Where all the brands can have. It's not that we don't have that in PN. It's just there's certain things that I think take the direction overall when you have racers that are probably have a better pulse of where the industry's going instead of pulling back on where you don't want it to go. Because of PN's got a vested interest in the stock AAA class, right?
Right.
And as they should. But maybe this organization doesn't promote that too much. And listen, the PN Cup was still our stepping stone. It's still our beacon. It's still the entry point. It's still the most prestigious event is the PN World Cup worldwide. And they should be admired for doing it for so long, and we should keep supporting them for however long they keep doing it. I feel like this World Cup is going to feel like a true world championship for once. I mean, I wish we could have a little more international presence, but the state of the economy globally is not the greatest.
Yeah, but
if it was in Europe, we wouldn't have a lot of Americans.
I think it was also that they capped it, right, because of time. I think we would have had a lot more entries. I think we would have had close to 400 entries.
Yeah,
not drivers,
you can't.
but yeah.
But you can't have
You can't have a
you can't have more
snowbirds.
than one.
You can't.
Yeah, we
You can't
can't have
race
more.
at 2, 3 in the morning.
Not
All
at the
right,
mall.
it's not at the mall. That is true. All right, I'm gonna transition over to
Remember,
the
the
next.
Snowbirds doesn't have AAA mains.
Oh, that's true too.
So yeah, if you guys want to run single mains, you can keep adding. But if you want to have AAA mains, dude,
Yep.
you
Yep.
got to limit
Oh,
your entries.
single main. That's no.
so we're gonna change scenes, right? We're gonna put the chat up. We're going to leave the Q&A towards the end. But the reason we're transitioning over is because Christian's gonna show us some stuff, and we want to make sure that we capture everyone's questions, inquiries, and curiosity. So I'll keep an eye on it. Paul's also going to keep an eye on it. Paul is filling in for EJ for the most part. So we'll try to keep it as interactive as possible. So let's do that now. And
Okay.
alrighty,
So,
what do you got for us?
of course, you guys saw the diff was just recently released. Once you guys hold it in your hands, and it's a really nice piece, right? It's the spur gear is a little bit lighter color. Our spare spurs are still going to be a little bit darker gray. Um, Definitely recommended that when running modified, we run these spurs with a plastic press-on pinion, right? Our diff, if you set it like a traditional ball diff, you'll be fine with an aluminum diff, but with an aluminum pinion. But we set these diffs really tight. That's what makes them really fast. And when you run an aluminum pinion, you will shear teeth off if you crash because it has no slippage, right? We are working on a mold for the spur, but it takes a long time, right? So we made a batch of machine spurs for these new diffs. They're awesome. This comes from our new manufacturer. The diff plates, the diff halves are much nicer, much better fit, better tolerance, better finish. The axles, the hubs spin way truer. Like it's a much nicer diff. It's kind of like the first stage of this refinement process that the models are about to go. Like this batch number 4 of cars, batch number 2 of G2 is a refinement batch. We go with a generation, and then we try to refine. I think that's what we're doing again. There's going to be a big leap in quality again. Like even though the G2s are pretty damn good, I think we got a little something extra, right? And there's areas where obviously the diff now is. I'll put that diff against any diff. I think it's as high quality as any other diff in the industry. When you put it with the diff covers, it's the nicest diff in the market. The spur gears are awesome. The shafts, the aluminum shafts, are really durable and really tough. They work really well. So that's one thing. The other thing we have is the center shock. And earlier I showed you guys a production shock right there. It's got that hard anodized color, and I'll have pictures up on the website this week because I got to pack them and then we'll release them this week. The shock is really nice. That's another one of those refinement things. And then obviously our own turnbuckles, ball cups. The turnbuckles were ours, but the ball cups weren't. We'll have our own ball cups. The ball studs are getting redone by this new factory, so the ball studs will be nicer. Like they'll have a really nice hard anodized finish on them. That's going to make them more durable, nicer, smoother. And then obviously the plastics are with the bigger M2 thread. So they're a little bit easier to thread, they're a little bit tougher, a little bit easier to adjust. Like the turnbuckles have 2 holes, one going this way and one going this way. So whenever you're turning it, like you got every 90 degrees, you got a hole to be able to adjust.
You have those on your car, right? You want to show them real quick?
Yeah. I don't know if they can be seen very well. Right there.
Yep. Looking good.
So we got that. In the new mold, like we have a parts tree. Each kit's going to get 2 of these parts trees. Trying to pull out one that's got everything on it. This one's only missing a ball cup. So, 2 ball cups. It's the new parts tree, right? Each kit's going to get 2 of these, right? And this parts tree is going to come with a new damper, outer damper tube. It's going to come with an adjustable upper arm, 6 ball cups. And then we're going to have 2 plastic wheel nuts and a left rear wheel nut. I don't know if you guys saw these in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But this is This is a diff where you don't need to use a bushing in your wheel on the left rear. Uh, the the what you call it, the bushing is integrated into the nut. So if you see it here, it's kind of like a barrel with a nut
Yep. So
up top.
that pretty much replaces the bearing.
Yeah, there's
bearing,
going to
yeah.
be, so you just mount your wheel. You don't need a bearing or bushing on the left rear. You just mount that straight on there.
Correct.
And the
Oh,
plastic's really durable.
That's a
So-
big hole. That's a big hole for the bearing, not the smaller, like a.
Yeah, that's for the 3mm shaft, not the 2mm.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll work on both, on the small hole, because it's concentric on the threads. So if it was two pieces, it would need to be concentric on both, but the concentricity is being held by the threaded nut. So when you're running the narrow axle, you can use it, and when you're running the wide axle, it has the wider opening for the axle. But it's going to be concentric on the wheel and on the axle because of the threads. So it'll work on both. It'll work on the narrow and on the wide.
Awesome.
The other thing, the other advantage of it is that since it's two piece, it's going to have more engagement. Or let's say that you want to space out your axle even more, and you want to have more threads. Shave this down a little bit. Just sand it down. Sand down the bushing side, right? And you'll be able to get engagement from the nut. So that's another one of the things that's on there. So that's refinement number 2 of the cars. So the next batch will come with new turnbuckles, new ball cups, new damper tubes, new center shock. And again, they'll probably come with the upper arms in the kit for the standard kits, but they won't come with the turnbuckle and maybe an extra ball cup. So you probably have to buy those separate. Again, that's if we want to keep the cost of the car down or bring it below. I can't keep adding things, right?
Cristian, we do have a question, but it was regarding the diff conversation. So that gentleman, S.E. Corby from the UK, is asking what plastic pinion are you suggesting?
Just the PNs or the GLs, whatever comes in the PN gear diff, those work great. I buy the Pro Match pinions from PN, the ones that come 2 in a pack. I've always used plastic press-on pinions regardless of it. I just feel like they're easier on the car and they're easier on your diffs. If you jam it, it'll slip inside the shaft a little bit, but they don't really slip when you're racing, right? So it's kind of like an extra fuse. I know a lot of people like aluminum. I just feel like those are really hard on your drivetrain. So I tend to use those plastic ones. And if you set your ball diff normally, then just you can use an aluminum one. But that's what I've been running. That's what I've always run, and so it didn't make much of a difference to me.
Corby, the same person.
Those plastic pinions are cheap. I like using them too.
Yeah, they're easy to put on too.
They're easy.
So,
another question from the same individual. With the new damper, is it gonna when you buy it as a standalone damper, will it come with all the pieces required? So the ball cups, the actual ball stud, and
you're gonna use the same ball stud that you have in your car right now. So no, it won't come with ball studs, but it'll be a shock with 2 ball cups and just ready to press in, kind of like how you buy one right now. Except it will come with as an option part. It's gonna come with 3 springs. Like the idea is that for both our diff and our center shock, like most cars will benefit from it. Like an atomic car will benefit from both. A GL car will benefit from both. I don't know if the center shock will fit on the RTA car, but the diff will benefit the RTA car. Like it people have been running on the RTA car PN diffs forever. This is a better diff. There's no reason why you wouldn't want to upgrade it. Same thing with the center shock. It's better than the atomic, than the GL, than the MWX shock. Like that currently industry standard design works very well, but it doesn't stay very clean and it doesn't last very long, right? This shock I ran the whole week in San Antonio. I didn't touch it, right? And then whenever I got home, I was like, oh, I'm going to rebuild it. I'm going to open it up. And I was expecting to see maybe some dirt or something in there. Shock was perfectly clean. Like there was no muck on it. Nothing was dirty. I was like, this is awesome. Like, so I basically don't have to touch it. You know, the only reason why you may want to is maybe your damping isn't as consistent, but the shock didn't feel like it needed better damping. It felt good. Like if anything, the damping actually still felt kind of heavy. So that's one of the big things. It's the same thing with the diff. It's like we got these diff covers. So the whole week in San Antonio, I didn't rebuild my ball diffs. And how often can you say that over a race weekend you don't rebuild your ball diffs, right? Especially in modified and with a lot of tire dust. And I didn't touch them.
Yep.
Not at all. I made the effort.
We have a question from one of your sponsored drivers. EJ is asking, is there a good way of putting these press-ons? Because apparently they don't go in perfectly straight.
EJ always having some issue. I mean,
I never noticed them going on crooked.
yeah, like you need to stop hanging out with those guys from Middle River. That's the only thing I can say. Listen, nothing is perfectly round. I use a 1.3 millimeter Allen wrench, like my 1.3 millimeter reflex wrench, and I'll stick it in the little hole on the outside and I'll just push it in. The pinion will find a way to center itself once it starts spinning. If your gear mesh is set right, listen, nothing's going to be perfectly concentric. No pinion is perfectly concentric. No spur gear is perfectly concentric. If your shit's wobbling, then you didn't install it right. Right?
Yep.
If it's a little off, it ain't gonna hurt nothing.
Did I hear correctly that they use press-ons for mod as well?
Yeah, that's where we want to use
them. They don't fall off. I mean, they don't fall off.
They're tight. They're tight,
no,
dude. They're not on there like, oh, you can push them in with your finger. Like you actually have to use some force, right? So yeah, what I do is I'll put the pinion on. If they got a little hole on the outside, and if you use a 1.3, it fits inside that Allen, and you just push it in, right? And I'm not trying to be hard on EJ. Like EJ's like super anal. Like he's just like all the guys from Maryland are the same way, and I just be like, oh man, you guys are ridiculous.
Paul wanted to give his opinion on the insert of opinion. What were you saying, Paul?
Absolutely.
Oh, they're on there tight. You gotta pry them off with a screwdriver or something.
Mm-hmm.
To get them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they work well. They're on there tight.
I had a question from one of our locals. That's actually pretty new. Him and his brother were they just started about, I don't know, maybe 9 months ago. Shout outs to the Katonas. But they were talking to me and they were like, are the team drivers that are racing at Worlds, are they approachable for assistance during the event itself?
I don't see why not. I mean, we've always been. If you look at the caliber of guys that we have on our team, right? Like Katona sounds familiar. I think I've run into those guys at some point in other scales. They're not new to RC. If you have the experience, and this is what I tell everybody, and it's one of the things that I've been telling Mo forever over at Houston RC. So shout out to Mo. I love you, Mo. We're not jerks, man. Like Mini Z guys aren't jerks. We just aren't. I mean, everybody on my team, like the biggest jerk is San, and San's pretty nice, right?
And that's a fact. Like, listen,
I mean,
Mo
we're all
was behind me, right?
man.
Mo was the gentleman behind me at Pre-Worlds, right? And I refrained myself, right? But I wanted to turn back and says that maybe the sponsored drivers in Houston are assholes because it's a total opposite. Like EJ, myself, we're so helpful, and it doesn't matter what car you're running.
Absolutely, like everybody on our team is that way, like right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and I can't speak for the other guys. I don't know him a whole lot. My experience with Lee Morey, he's a very cordial guy. He's very nice. He looks like he's super helpful. I know Derek is super cool with Atomic. I really legitimately like Derek and his dad. I mean, they're nice people, super approachable. Grant is super approachable, right? Like, even though he's kind of quiet, you go up to Grant, he'll help you out. I mean, this is the thing is like, and I posted it on one of those threads on Facebook, is like, don't expect people to come up to you at an event if you're struggling to help you, right? At the end of the day, we're there to race, right? It doesn't mean that we should not help you, like, but be mindful that if somebody's getting ready for an event, maybe they're working on their car, maybe at that point in time is not the most appropriate time to approach them, but you can always ask. Like, I don't think that anybody in our team would be like, I mean, if they go up to Kemper, Kemper's going to be like, look at him like, he's just going to, same thing with Jacob. Like, he's going to be like, oh man, I don't know very much, but at least they'll be like, hey, Paul, come over here. Or Fong, hey, can you help me out with this? Or, hey, EJ, do you know this? Like, some of our guys are more mechanics. Some of our guys are more drivers. Some of our guys are more setup guys, right? But at the end of the day, we all are super approachable. I think it doesn't it shouldn't be to the point where, oh, I'm afraid to go up there. This isn't 10 scale on road, man. Like, I know that there's some jerks in that. I mean, I've experienced it myself, right? It's a toxic culture. 8 scale off road, it's a toxic culture, right? And not everybody's toxic, but there's a lot of people that are highly toxic, and typically the fast on road guys have that reputation, right? There is your exceptions, like the Kevin A. Bears of the world, the Paul Lemieux. But Paul's quiet. If you don't know Paul Lemieux, you think, oh, that guy. But you go up to talk to Paul, and he's like a sweetheart, right? Like, he's super nice, and he's a great ambassador, right?
Shout out to Paul.
There's
He's
some other
also
pro
one of my
guys that are.
sponsors, by the way. Shout out
Yeah,
to Gravity.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love Paul to
Yeah,
death.
Paul is
We've been
great.
friends for a long time, and Kevin is the same exact. Like, it's another example, right? Kevin, Mike G, like, super duper nice guys, but quiet, right? Remember, like, there's not a lot of us that are like super stud athlete, outgoing. A lot of us are like nerds, man. Like, we're not like, a lot of guys don't have the best social skills either, and
Yep.
maybe they get anxious to talk to people. But I think if you come with a legitimate good intention to ask a question, and you are mindful of their time, because it's unfair to also burden with things that are unrealistic, right? They're there to enjoy the hobby, right? They're spending their money to participate in that event. This is not like anybody's a paid pro where they're paying their way, and no, like, most people pay their own way, and they're there to enjoy that event. They get some or complete factory support with parts, but we're all spending money out of our pocket at these events, right? So when you call somebody, and you are expecting them to give you their undivided attention because they run for a specific company, without having consideration for their event, I don't think that's fair either, right? So it takes two to tango, right? I think I have made an effort to build a team with a certain profile of individual, um, that fits that mold. We have a couple of instances where we have some guys that are really good drivers and maybe are not as good mechanics. In the case of like Jacob and Kemper are the perfect two examples. But find two nicer guys on our team and you won't. Those are the two nicest guys, the most approachable guys on the team, probably the most helpful, even though they don't know nearly as much as the second worst guy, right? Like, and this is no slight on them, but you got your glue guys, and you got your mechanics, and you got your social butterflies, right? I think that's the case with Kemper. Like, who doesn't like Kemper, right? Has Kemper ever blown up on the driver's stand or been mean to somebody or hasn't cracked a joke or
Kemper's my bitch?
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth. Like, he's probably the most likable guy in RC. Everybody likes Kemper, right? Right.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
And
hey, listen again. No shots at Mo. Maybe he had a bad experience with one or two sponsored drivers, but I promise you,
he's coming around a little bit. Yeah. I think he's coming around a little bit on it. I mean, he is entitled to being concerned about it because his experience was highly from the 8 skill side of things, and
gotcha.
And that industry is broken, and Mo runs a great program at his track, right? Like, it's not catered towards the ultra high competitive guys. It's catered more to like the regular hobbyists, but he keeps the doors open. He gives some people a fun place to hang out, a nice facility with AC in Houston weather, and he's got a carpet track out back. It's a good show, right?
I don't know not one sponsored driver in the Northeast, right? I'm talking about Michael Air all the way in New Hampshire, all the way down to North Carolina, where a sponsored driver doesn't help someone, and they go beyond, above and beyond to help someone. So
Yeah,
totally
I
different
think that's
experience. Like I was listening and I'm
I
like,
think that's most of the
this,
case in
yeah,
this scale. Like
yeah,
I agree. Like I mean, most of the guys are pretty good people because it's part of the mini Z culture, right?
yeah.
Um, some people may not like some people's direct approach, or some people may have uh, a biased opinion of maybe an experience where they haven't approached the person at the right time, or maybe they were busy, or maybe they were upset. Like, yeah, you're allowed to be upset, right? As
Yep.
long as you're not blowing up and yelling at people and throwing your radio across, I think you're
Oh,
allowed to be upset. You're allowed to be happy. Like, I mean, you're allowed to show emotion.
shout out to Eugene Emu, guys.
Yeah,
One of the nicest guys, man. Extremely helpful. Helped me when I first started Mini Z.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
yep,
Help me out.
yep. Alrighty.
When
Any
I go
questions,
a long
chat?
way, also.
Any questions? Any other questions, chat? Before we wrap this up, because I have an event to get ready for tomorrow.
I still have more stuff to show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
We're not done.
No. We're not done. We're not done.
The other thing,
What we got there?
we got these little tire gluers. These are pretty cool.
Oh, where's
Aaron
mine?
Lewis,
Did I place my order yet?
I just got these in. I haven't placed them on the website. You do need a cable, a lipo, or a power supply, but they basically spin really slow.
Does it have a power regulator? You would think 12 volts is gonna spin.
No, it doesn't. It's just a servo motor,
Oh, okay.
like a worm gear motor. It goes really slow, and it's a tire gluer. You could use it to glue your tires, peel around the side and glue if you want to do it like that. I think it takes too long to do it that way, but it's awesome to glue sidewalls. So I wanted them to glue the sidewalls on the tires. It's going to make it a lot easier for people that don't have the experience. We'll make a little video to show that up.
That's dope.
They're not cheap because they're expensive to make. They're handcrafted by Aaron Lewis. Essentially, they're got a nice little 3D printed case, a nice little button on off switch. It's got a nice little gear case inside. It's got a soldered XT60 plug on the side.
It's got a lot of torque too.
What's that?
It's got a lot of torque.
Whoa, absolutely, a ton of
Yeah.
torque.
You have one already? Oh, you guys are neighbors.
I saw one. I saw one in Colorado.
Oh, gotcha. Not that one though, but
Yeah, EJ
No.
probably had one. 'Cause
EJ.
Aaron is EJ Evans's buddy, and EJ's the one that Aaron's the one that did our original gear diff covers as well, the 3D printed one. So the print quality is very good. Of course, like with anything that's 3D printed, don't leave it in your car when it's hot, because it'll warp. But it's a nice product, man. I've been wanting one of these to glue sidewalls for a while. I got pretty good at gluing them without it, but I think for the average individual, it's going to make it a lot easier to glue their tires. Outside of that, is that all we have?
For the audience, what glue do you use?
It's the only thing I use.
Same here.
that's pretty popular. Yeah, we use that out here too. That's the
The reason why I
brand
use this
Loctite.
because where you have to buy it like at Lowe's, Home Depot, it's a
Everywhere.
high volume, high turnover glue. Glue goes bad, especially if you don't refrigerate it once you open it. So if you're having trouble with your tires coming unglued, throw out your glue, get you some new glue. Reason why I like this stuff is it never gets old on the shelf. Hobby shop glue often gets old on the shelf. That Bob Smith junk, don't like it. I've never found any success with Bob Smith for anything, because you don't know how old it is, how much, because that's all in a warehouse, and all they do is they put your sticker and they ship it.
Yep.
To your hobby
that's the
shop.
best glue. That hands down.
Yeah, so this stuff is what the J Concepts and the Proline glue. I know the J Concepts glue. I heard a long time ago that Jason Rona's mom used to work for Loctite. That's what I heard through a mutual friend. I don't know if that's the truth, and that's what Jason used to use for his glue. But the reason why I like this is because it's always fresh, and I always use my glue bottles. You don't have to use mine, but a needle tip is key to control your flow when you're doing your
I was
gluing.
just about to answer Nick's question. It's if it flows too quickly, it's your needle. It's the diameter of the needle itself. You want a
Absolutely, you want thin
narrow needle.
cure. In this scale, you want thin cure. The medium cure takes too long to cure, and it just doesn't glue as well as the thin cure. You want that. That's what I found. That for whatever reason, these tires like curing quickly. When you start running the medium cure, they peel off and they glaze.
They flake.
I don't know why that is, but thin. I think our needles are maybe 20 or 22 gauge. That's about where you want. Anything bigger, it's flowing too fast, and that's why you want a needle, is because you can control the flow.
Exactly.
Right? These bottles I have to squeeze to get the glue inside. And the way I do it is I do it old school way. Like I peel the side of the tire, I stick the needle in there, and I just go around it. I squeeze it and go, and then whatever seeps out. What's that?
You said 22 gauge. I'm just answering Nick.
Yeah, I think it's 18 or 20 gauge maybe.
Oh, okay.
But
18 is a little big. 19 is about as big as you want to go.
Yeah, but that's all I do. I just spin it around in there, and whatever excess is, I wipe it off. Make sure that it's all the way on the channel, and once that's done, like that tire, the outside is done. I mean, I'll leave it there and I'll let it cure, and then I'll come back. I usually do the backside first, and I come back to the front. Since these aren't fronts, I'm not going to use the tire mounter, and this really, at the end of the day, I'm going to use basically to do my sidewalls, right? So that they don't get so runny. I'm so good at it now that it probably takes longer to put it on there, just because I got to screw it on, then screw it out, than doing it by hand. But it's a nice tool. Like it's definitely something that when you're doing, because you do the backside first, and once the backside is glued, then you put it on the front, make it spin, you glue the inside, and you go all the way. You work yourself to the outside, glue the edge, cure it, take it off, you're done.
Cristian, I need you to debunk this myth. Accelerator. I hear that when you use accelerator, yes, it quickly hardens the outer shell, but it doesn't completely dry.
Well, you don't spray it directly. You do mist, right? Like you do in a cup, you mist inside the cup, you put it over, and it works perfect. That's how you got to do it. You don't do direct accelerator. You basically take a plastic cup, you spray it. It's got to be the aerosol kind. Like, you can't be the pump spray. You take the aerosol stuff, you fog up a cup with a little light mist, just go put it on top of the tires, put the tires on the surface, cover it with the cup. 30 seconds, 45 seconds later, come back. It's perfectly dry, perfectly shiny. That's how we do it. That's how we do it in 10 scale, 12 scale. That's what works the best. I mean, that's how they do it in off-road now.
Yep.
You don't want to have direct accelerator, because that's when it becomes brittle. That's when it doesn't work right. But if you do it with the mist, it works awesome. Just the vapors.
Sweet. We're down to 12 viewers. We had a total of 17, which is good. Any questions? Please post them now. Cristian, you showed everything, right? 11 millimeter fronts, the negative 1.5s. If you don't get them from the hobby shop, Cristian will have some. I'm not sure how that's going to work as far as sale or whatever. They're going to have to buy it through the store or directly through you, Cristian. I really don't know.
Listen, I'm not going to sell anything at the Worlds. Like, if the store wants to stock them, they're welcome to.
Okay.
But the issue is going to be if they stock them, right? Like, I can't make somebody stock the product, and I'm not going to sell it trackside, right? Like, do I have an extra set that you can try? Probably, and I'm going to give it out. I would hope that they want to stock this stuff, but I don't have much communication with their ordering over there.
And
I think they want Paul to tell them what to order or something like that. I don't know how that works.
Get on it, team manager.
I'll contact. I think Soto is the one who does the ordering now.
Good. Make
So
OX.
speaking of the new front wheels, what
about it?
KSM, KS, medium, soft? What? That was one of the questions that was earlier.
Yep. Oh yeah, way up on top. Yep.
Yeah.
What do we use?
No. What's ideal, like prep wise?
No, but what compound as well? That was the question.
Okay.
KSM.
KSM 638 and KS
2134?
2138 is what I've been using. Right? I use the mediums in both. It depends on what I'm looking for. The 638 is less aggressive. The 2138 is more aggressive. So just what you're looking for. Usually I'll run the 638 with a 5-degree rear because it's a more aggressive less aggressive tire combo. and I'll run the 2138 with a 10-degree rear. More aggressive, more grippy, more like in the track, more responsive. So that's how I kind of combine them. And then, I just play around with tire diameters to get the balance that I feel and feel that I
Why
want.
would someone go with an 11 millimeter front if they're running 8.5s now? What are you gaining? What's the advantage?
Stability and like it's less responsive off center. The tire's wider, so it has to scrub more to start changing direction. So it almost acts like a little deadband. So the car is easier to control. Like the response is not as instant. It's not slow, but it's just easier to drive. Like that's the only way that I can describe it. It's consistency goes up. Lap time's not necessarily quicker, but our consistency numbers there's a big jump in it. I mean, at least for me, for EJC, been like that now that EJ Evans likes them. I think Roger up in NorCal, EJ let him test some, and he posted his own review, and I always love Roger's reviews because they're always so on the money, right? And he was like, hey, it just makes the car easier to drive, and it's like you're driving Miss Daisy, and in effect, that's what it feels like. I think our car is the easiest car to drive. Everybody's always been like, oh, it's nervous. No, it isn't. Our car is the easiest to drive. Like Mo drove my car, and he was like, oh man, it drives like my GL. I was like, yeah, it's easy to drive, isn't it? That's kind of did it take a while to get there? Maybe. I think the 8.5s make the cars a lot more sensitive off center, right? Because there's a lot less scrub, and typically to get the mid corner steering, got to run them a little bit taller so it gets tippier. Here, you're going to run the tire smaller and it's wider, so it's smoother, and you get all the steering from the wider contact patch.
Okay. Mr. Paul Paris.
Yep.
In the last stream, right, Mr. Team Manager, we were asking, like, why don't you share with people what your role is and stuff like that, and you talked about shirt sizes. I heard the shirts were ordered. We're getting shirts.
We are getting PNWC 2023 World Edition, I believe.
Nice. Some exclusives.
Yeah. You wanted an exclusive shirt, Sam, so I made these thinking about you. Nobody but the guys that go there will be able to.
That's right.
So I was asked today.
I still want that logo though. I want the inverted
old school
R.
logo.
Yeah, the old school logo. I love it.
Yeah, I don't make those. What ended up happening is obviously we had voted on some shirts and other stuff, and I had changed the design a couple of times, but then there was a couple of issues like with the shirts coming in out of stock, and there was one size that was supposed to come in stock, and then once we got that size in stock, then the other size was out of stock, so we were going to make them in a different size, and then I go to order them, and they're going to be like 3 days late, and there's no way to expedite the process. So I was like, shit, let me start looking for a different source. I found these other really cool shirts, but they're like $120 a piece, and I was like, man, I love you guys, but that's excessive. I'd rather give you guys something else and take you out.
I believe we have a question from Brazil. All the items you sell on the website is you can ship internationally, right? You could ship apparel internationally.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, Fernando, you're good. You can order your shirt. You'll get it.
Are the world shirts going to be available?
I don't think that's what he's asking. I think he's just asking in general.
Yeah, I mean, Fernando orders all the time. So, yeah, I mean, we have that. We're a little low on stuff right now, so I do have to put it in an order for
asking about the shirts we're talking about. Those are team-specific world shirts for 2023.
Yeah, they're going to be just for the guys, for the 14 guys that we have going. Yep. They got the Reflex and the Rad logo on them. They're pretty simple. Like they have like a laurel crown on one side that says PNWC 2023. On the other side, it has Reflex logo and a Rad logo. It's a black T-shirt. Was just going for something kind of cool and different, and something for the team guys that are attending. We'll come up with some different options. Hopefully, over the holidays, we got to get more stuff done. It's just, man, it's been hard to keep up. Really, I mean, it's been a lot of work lately, and we're just trying to stay focused on the worlds. After the worlds, we'll have some more time to focus on other things that we've been looking at. Like we got to start moving into the F1 project and start working on that. Like we just got to finalize the last couple of drawings on that. And then send off to make some samples, and then we got to start, working with Brad to make the body and wings. And we also have a cool little battery project that hopefully man, I haven't heard anything. I don't know if it's gonna be ready for the Worlds, but after the Worlds, we'll have a really cool battery pack for you guys that you guys will enjoy. Some of you guys know what it is. I'll share it for the next podcast because I think by the next podcast, we may have released them or we may have them already.
So Christian, speaking of batteries, what's the current stock of the current battery?
We're out, so we're not gonna have anything for the Worlds. Like whatever you got is what you got. I mean, so if there's a Reflex guy that wants to, I'm trying to get the new production done in time, and that way, give everybody 2-3 battery packs at least for the Worlds. But I got to follow up the factory tomorrow and see where we're at on it. There's it was gonna be like so close that we may make it. Maybe I'm able to get a small batch of them sent over. I'm gonna push for that, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if they're gonna make them on time.
Okay. What about 2XL shirts?
2XL shirts?
Yes, Fernando and RCHQ asked me. He wants 2 double XL shirts. Do we have any available?
I think I'm completely out of shirts right now. But I need to make a new batch of shirts. I need to make a new batch of hoodies. I can probably get that done this week. And I don't know if they're going to be ready on time for the Worlds. I'll look through my stuff, see if I think I had like 1 or 2 t-shirts left. But that was it. So I got to look and see what sizes they were. They may be 3XL or they may be medium. I don't know.
Yeah. I owe Richie Siriano a t-shirt.
Yeah, we just haven't had shirts. That's
shout out to you, Rich. I'm working on it.
Well, he's getting a World shirt, so that at least will be something, right? And
he's driving
again. Once we get past the World, he's driving.
Yeah, he's driving.
He's not gonna fly.
Nah, he has a flying phobia.
Oh damn, Richie, you hardcore.
Yep, he'll be driving.
All right.
What's up with the Airbnb?
We have ours.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but I'm gonna look into it this week and see what and who wants to stay, and at least if anything, it'll be a place where we can hang out.
You could minus 2 though, because I think EJ's gonna stay with JP, and I'm gonna stay with a couple of the local guys here, or they're gonna stay with me. So you can minus 2.
I think most people started getting their own place. That was the main thing. Is when I heard that, I was like, all right, well, maybe people don't want to stay with me. So
no, we do. It's just you're busy. We were getting a little nervous. You had a lot of things going on. So
well, I mean, I don't do anything till it's absolutely necessary, right? I mean, people like to plan 3 weeks ahead. Like, I get my hotel in San Antonio the day I get there. Now, I wasn't going to do that for the Airbnb, but I was going to do it this week, right? That's just how I like to live dangerously, I guess.
That's how you roll. All right. Any final words, guys? Any more questions from chat? Oh, never mind. EJ said he's not with JP. He's gonna do the hotel thing because he has points. Any questions from chat before we go?
Nothing.
See, I promised you, P2, that you were gonna be more vocal in this stream than you were in the last one.
I'm trying to. I mean, I like listening to Christian. I don't talk to him that often.
We all do. We all like to listen to Christian. I just have to moderate it a little bit though sometimes.
Oh, that's your duty. That's your duty. That's your duty, right?
That is my duty.
You're the moderator. I'm your talking head.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we don't have
UK.
much. I don't think we have much else left to talk about. I mean, except for, hey, thank you guys. We're on the home stretch for this big event. I mean, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. So the next stream is going to be,
after the
Thanksgiving. Should we do it, Christian? Should we do it before Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving? I think before.
Yeah, probably the week before,
yeah,
maybe.
The week before Thanksgiving, yeah.
that Saturday.
Then we'll have a world's synopsis, some results,
Yeah,
and share new things with our community.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one of the things that we're gonna do post Worlds, and that's gonna be something that we'll probably release pretty quick once we get the new plastics. Is we're going to do like a. I mean, I'm nostalgic when it comes to RC, so I like kind of like the idea of calling like the G2 Worlds kit or whatever, Beyond the Worlds or World
Yeah.
Spec, because the parts are going to be ready for the most part before the Worlds. Like maybe the turnbuckles and the ball cups and the plastics may not be, so we can't technically run those in like the sedan class, but we can in pan car. Um,
You said
but
the sprint.
the stocks will be released probably Monday or Tuesday, so those will be available. So after the Worlds, we'll have an upgrade kit for people that want to upgrade their G2s, and it'll have the shock.
Nice.
It'll have the new plastics, the new turnbuckles, um, the new damper tubes, and that'll be the upgrade for the next gen. Are they entirely necessary? No, like it's just they're not going to be very. It's not going to be a very expensive upgrade. Like the shock's probably going to retail for $35, and this upgrade kit's probably going to be like $50, right? Like we're going to just package everything in there, and individually, if you buy the thing, it's probably be like 80. But we're going to do that as kind of like a celebratory kind of thank you. That's the goal, so that people that do want to update their cars with the latest parts, like it won't be an arm and a leg to do it. And again, all the new versions of the cars will start uh, shipping with that stuff. Come, I want to say the new batch is going to be ready in November, but it won't. I mean, the standard car and will be. The K car will probably be maybe late November, maybe early December. The SE will definitely be December, maybe early to mid December, because we're having a really difficult time sourcing the chassis. Like I fired the company that did the last batch of chassis because we had some issues with like the servo saver, and they don't want to take ownership of their product, and there's some bad things, so we had to find a new vendor, and then we found a new vendor, and then everything was going well, and then it came down time to quote the chassis, how to coat the chassis, and they contacted me, and they go like, oh, we didn't know the coating was going to be this expensive, so we need to charge you $1,000 more for the prototypes. And I was like, and they're like, every time we fire up the oven, it's $1,000, and I said, guys, like you guys should have priced this into it, and it was going to make the chassis like $65 a piece or something cost, and they're not cheap already, but it was going to make it way too expensive. So I had to find another vendor, and we found another one. These people are the people that did our shock, and they're an RC company. So now we have three vendors. Our original vendor that we've always used, they do like non-critical items, like they'll do some of our tools and items like posts, like the center shock mount, stuff that's not critical, like the little shock mounts. They're not a super low cost factory, but they're a lower cost, good quality. Like I've trained them over 15 years on making stuff. They make it stuff. They're not the cheapest, but they're fair price. And then the critical items are being made by a factory, by a brand out of Hong Kong. Those guys are expensive, but they're fair and their quality is awesome. Those are the guys that did the diff. And they're going to be doing all our critical items. And then I have this other factory that's doing some of our molds, and they're going to do some of our steel items. The other thing I will show you guys is I forgot. There's another thing that I got. It's not a huge product, but it's a cool product. And it's 50 millimeter cables.
Those are ESC to the receiver cables?
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
All black.
Yep.
These
But I
are
think
with
the hobby
PVC
wing
wires.
isn't the hobby wing the unique one though that you have to swap pins 1 and 3.
That's the PN. Goes the other way.
Oh, the PN. Okay.
But look at this.
Oh, so then
You're going to
yeah.
install your plug. Yeah, you'll install the plug. It'll come without the plug on there, so you'll install it however you need to.
Look at that.
You'll have to look at your original plug and then just match up the wires, and mount it however you need. These have a PVC sheathing. PVC is more it's tougher. It's got a bigger diameter wire inside, but it's not as flexible, right? I'm getting silicone ones made as well. These coil, like if you twist them real like a whole lot, they twist really nice, and the cars looks pretty well organized. I don't know if you can see it in there. It's the black wire coming from the ESC right there. It works well. Like, is it as flexible as a silicone wire? No, but they're super tough. These are not going to pull out of the plug. Like, they're going to last a lot longer. So you have like a heavy duty cable, and then you'll have a silicone cable.
Okay. All right.
You'll have the two choices.
We have a couple of people, again, thanking us for what we do. They want us to continue to do the live stream. A couple of the guys actually says that they love when we go live. It's really cool, and they want us to keep doing it. We got a gentleman. I'm not sure. It was kind of it was a unique experience. I actually went to another track in Waldwick. It's where Grant from RTA, his local track. And one of the guys recognized me and says, "Hey, you're the guy from the podcast." And so one of the locals that was with me says, "Oh, you're a celebrity now?" So, but anyways, yeah, it's pretty cool how we could reach out to different audiences and different people from all over the world for the most part. So it's pretty cool. But thank you guys.
Yeah, I wonder if we need to, like we discussed earlier. I mean, do we need to try to maybe? Is there a way of doing this live on Facebook, like on the Reflex Facebook? And
yeah, we need to create an account. I don't have. If EJ has the credentials, then EJ could do that. We can definitely stream on Facebook as well.
I'm just wondering. I mean, if that's something that would benefit.
I don't think the issue is the platform.
We have a much bigger audience on the. What's that?
It's the time zone. I don't think it's the platform. I think it's the time zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, we could stream. We could actually stream, and I'll ask EJ because I think I can't say much because the algorithm will pick up what we're saying, and I don't want us to get banned or to get to get shut off. But we'll talk about some of the logistics off stream on what we can do as far as streaming, through different platforms. I think that's it. Someone said the black wires is definitely faster. It'll make your car faster. That's pretty funny. What's up, Paul?
Well, what about Christian and I talked about this, a team build, right? Someone orders a car, they're not too good at building a car. We can do something for them. Is that true?
Yes, that's what you and I had discussed. Like I've gotten a couple of inquiries already on the website because I've never, I don't offer that. I used to do it a long time ago when we weren't very busy, but unfortunately I can't do it. But I told people, because we had that conversation. I said, hey, listen, I have a guy that can build it for you. I don't even say that. I'm saying yes, we can, and basically they're going to be built by Paul. Like I'm going to send them to Paul, and I'm going to pay Paul to build them. Right? That money for the build is going to be going to him. I think he's one of the best builders that we have. So a car built by him would be as good as, he knows the cars as well as I do. So I think, he's one of those guys that's a really good mechanic. He may even do his little damper tube trick.
Listen, I'm still perplexed.
Everybody loves.
I'm still perplexed on how I get my cars in pieces. I was expecting my cars to come already pre-built, Paul.
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
I gotta go to HR.
There's only like a few people that I do that for.
I think Chris and Richie.
Yeah, because they're both like. Yeah. Richie's a great driver and he's a good mechanic once he figures it out. But whenever he's putting something together, and listen, I'm not gonna blame him entirely. Like I know our instructions aren't the best, but I do the best with what I got. Right? Like we're hurting on time. I need to add the words to the SE. Those are long overdue, and that shouldn't take me a very long time. But the idea is for these guys to get. I know that some guys struggle with certain things that our cars were lacking on earlier versions of. One of the big things, one of the guys that has pushed me the most at wanting to improve this is Richie, right? Because he wants things to fit perfect, right? And I think they should. It just takes time, right? Like it
He's been
takes time
driving
to.
X-rays too long. That's why.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's part of the what we aspire, right? I think. Oh, we got the new plastics for the new arms now. So all new cars already that are shipping now, they come with the new upper and lower arms. Those have a lot. We've eliminated the slop up top and a little bit of slop that we had on the left bottom rear socket. It's much tighter, and now it's a lot easier to adjust with just the screw. So those issues have been resolved now. If anything, it's a little tight on the upper right hinge pin, but again, like you can only have it one or the other. Like it's either going to be a little loose or a little tight. It's not terribly tight to where, I mean, if you just polish your hinge pin a little bit, it'll free up real nice and it'll have like no slop. Or if you use like a 1/16 drill bit to just drill through the plastic, it'll just be perfect, right? And it's not even going to remove any material. Like it's just basically right now, instead of being like 1.55, some of them due to when they pull out the pins, they may be like 1.53 millimeters. And I mean, we're talking about 0.02 millimeters of difference. And whenever they're 1.53, they're a little tight. Whenever they're 1.55, that like they're perfect and they have like zero slop and they're super smooth. So you can't really have it perfect every run, every time. But this is about as close as it gets. Like this is as good, if not better, than a GL. The new upper arm plastics, the adjustable ones. I have a front end that I build over here, man. That one was a pleasure to build. I didn't have to touch anything. All I did was I assembled it. I don't know where it went, but oh no, it's not it. But the fit and finish is so good that there was literally just putting it together and screwing it together, and it was perfectly free, and I didn't have to touch anything. Low slop, good to go. I mean, so that's a big improvement. I mean, I think I was looking at it the other day, going, "Holy smokes!" I know where it is because it was by my desk.
We could talk all night, Santos.
No. We're not talking all night. Like you got 2 minutes to show that, and then you guys can switch the channel.
This is a sample of it. You know, we went with the gray, and it's got gray turnbuckles. It's a hard material, but instead of having the aluminum arms, now you have like the gray, and it's super free. Like,
and those are M2, right?
Yeah, and okay. Look at the slop, like.
Oh, Richie,
like it's very little.
Richie's gonna love this.
You know that there's almost no slop. Obviously, you're going to have a little bit. Otherwise, it's either tight or it has a tiny bit of slop, and this is where that tiny bit is. So it's very good, very easy to put together, and there was no real work behind it. It was just assembling it. Now, some of the front ends, you'll notice they're coming with some press-in hinge pins for the lower arm. You can use the screw type or the press-in. The press-in are a little bit tighter because they're a little oversized. And they work really well. So I've been using the press-in.
I placed an order for those press-ins, but I got the screw type.
No, because they're not on the website. They just come with the bulkheads, with the new bulkheads, or you know, I mean, in the kits they come as well.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, but you just
and I don't know how long we're gonna have those. I mean, this may be just something. One of the things that we did to improve fit is we're making custom hardware for each batch. Mm-hmm. That's difficult, but when we move to this new vendor and he makes our next batch of bulkheads in pins, the issue will go away forever. Like it will never be an issue anymore. It's like the diffs. Like we will never have issues with the diffs anymore. The hinge pins won't ever have issues anymore. He's making the new batch of KISS front ends, even though the KISS front end right now is phenomenal. They're even going to be even a little bit better, and they're going to have a couple of other little details that are going to be really nice about them. They were just a little refinement. I think the KISS was almost perfect.
Are we
Um,
gonna still be able to
these,
use the same sleeves though, for the camber between the generations of the
yes,
gift?
yeah,
The sleeves are gonna continue to be the same. Good, good.
yeah, those are going to be the same
Because
for right now,
yeah,
at least.
I lose them all
You
the
know,
time. So
one of the things I've been thinking about on the Kiss is maybe making a molded lower part or maybe molded complete assembly so that we can bring the cost down of the Kiss car, but then offer the aluminum Kiss front end as an aftermarket part, and the aluminum one will come with the SE. But maybe our Kiss car will be, more in the $280 range or maybe $300 range. Maybe we can cut off another $40
yeah,
off of the cost. Sell it for $299, and it'll have a plastic Kiss, right, with plastic knuckles and plastic parts. Everything else will be the same. But if we can bring the cost down of that, I mean, that Kiss front end is expensive to make.
yeah,
If we can bring the cost down there and then offer it as an upgrade, then we can have a lower cost of entry car. Uh, is that what we want? I don't know. I mean, is that what people want? Do they want a lower cost car? Is that what they're looking for? Um, is the $340 price point kind of in no man's land? Is my question, right?
right.
Uh, we sell a lot more SEs than we sell anything else. Uh, so it doesn't tell me that it's overpriced because we can't keep it in stock, right? So it's priced right now. Is the other one? I mean, we don't have a lot of them left either. So
EJ, you're pretty chatty
just,
for someone who's supposed to be ill.
I know.
EJ's asking more questions. But I do agree with EJ because, as Christian knows, not a lot of our team drivers know. I have a lot of cars. I love them. I have two of the limited edition. I have like four of the G2s, two SEs. But the one thing though that I struggle with is when I want to take the G2K car and I want to put double arms on it. EJ actually posted this on chat right now. If you could make a like a upgrade kit for the front end, like the whole front end
yeah,
assembled and sell it as a
we've
kit.
been getting the request for the double A-arm kit, and I
Yeah.
think it's going to happen. It's just
Well, I'll be the
we're
first to
in
buy like
between.
three of them.
We're in between um, revisions, right? And we're in between batches of cars. So I don't want to sell something with the old spec for a week or have it left over as an old stock. So when we get the new plastics, and we have our new ball cups and we have our new upper arms, my take on it is probably the aftermarket double A arm front end is going to come with the plastic adjustable upper arm, right?
Okay.
With the new turnbuckles. It'll
And
come
that's gonna
with
be the standard, the default. No more of the traditional static upper arms.
the standard car is going to come with a static non-adjustable camber arms.
Okay.
That because that's what I was going to say. Like
Yep.
the arms are going to come in the kit, but it's probably not going to include the turnbuckles. Like, yeah, we could include them and just have both. I mean, but one of the reasons why it has static non-adjustable camber is because it's easier, right? It's easier to set up. So if somebody's moving up into a double A-arm front end, adding camber and building that aspect of it and then having to adjust it adds a certain degree of difficulty. So it's more like, hey, we have a K as the entry, the double A arm with low adjustment is the middle, and then we have the fully adjustable double A arm as the full meal deal. Like if we're selling the aftermarket one, it's kind of like when we sell the Kiss front end. It comes with both inserts, but in the kit, it only comes with one. So that's kind of my same kind of thought process. We'll have all the adjustment parts in the aftermarket double A arm, but the kit will be more simple version of it.
Okay.
Just because, again, we want to keep costs down, and people think, hey, all right, turnbuckle may not be that much money, but when you're talking about $2 here, $3 there, and we want to keep the price down, um, you can't do it, right? Like if we don't protect, I mean, we could always take some margin out from the hobby shops. Is that what we want to do to
Nope.
keep the cost down? Like,
Support your local hobby shop, everyone. You won't have a track if you don't support your local hobby shop. That's
absolutely.
real talk
So
right there. All right, gentlemen. I gotta wrap it up again. I'm the host and the race director for an event that's happening tomorrow in Jersey. If you guys are listening and you're from
Hey,
Jersey or the
go
Northeast,
check your mailbox and make
I
sure
am.
that
I am. I'm
the
gonna
stuff's
go.
not in there.
Absolutely.
I'll track it right now, but it should have
Yeah,
made
can
it
you
there.
track
Like
it and then just text me, Paul? Any
I
last
shipped
words?
it express. I
What's up,
shipped
what's
it
up?
Appreciate it.
express.
Any last words, buddy?
No, see you in November. But hopefully we
yeah.
got some good news.
We need to get some of the other team guys on the cast. So
Yeah,
make it
I agree.
happen, Mr. Team Manager. You're my guy,
Okay.
buddy. Alrighty.
Look at Kemper on there. Everyone loves Kemper.
Everyone loves Kemper, yo. Can Kemper, operate a camera and a mic and a laptop or tablet? Nothing.
Hey,
You can do it from a cell phone. That's how I do it. You don't need that.
Alrighty, gentlemen. Thanks everyone for attending and joining us live today, and everyone have a great night.
All right.
Hey, have a good night, guys.
Next time.